welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into what I think is one of the most fascinating hero's journeys in modern industrial history. It's the story of a mundane office supply that you probably have sitting right next to you as we speak. A product that defied all odds, survived years of corporate rejection, and literally changed how human beings communicate. To kick things off, I want you to consider a bit of a mystery. What exactly do a failed 1968 aerospace glue and your office desk have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup to a joke, right? But the punchline is actually a masterclass in chemistry and accidental innovation. Well, the answer leads us to this absolutely staggering number, 80 billion. That is 80 billion Post-it notes manufactured globally every single year. It's wild. But before we explore how this little yellow square created a multi-billion-dollar empire, we've got to go back to its incredibly humble and frankly disastrous beginnings. Okay, let's dive right into section 1, the billion-dollar accident. You know, the underdog story of the Post-it note is completely unlike stuff like the microwave oven or penicillin. Those found immediate uses right after they were accidentally discovered. But the Post-it? That is a story of agonizing persistence. Just look at this massive 12-year gap from the initial chemical discovery in 1968 all the way to its national launch in 1980. 12 whole years. In today's fast-paced corporate world, an innovation budget would have killed this project a dozen times over, for sure. But this product? It survived through sheer, stubborn advocacy. It all started with a 3M scientist named Dr. Spencer Silver. Back in 1968, he was trying to create this super strong aerospace adhesive. But instead, he accidentally created the exact opposite, a weak, repositionable adhesive. Basically, it had high tack, meaning it felt sticky right away, but terrible peel adhesion, meaning it literally couldn't hold anything together permanently. Dr. Silver himself famously called it a solution to a non-problem. And honestly, for years, it was considered an absolute failure in the lab. But here is a crucial takeaway about 3M's organizational culture at the time. They had this policy called the 15% rule, which was affectionately known as permitted bootlegging. It basically allowed employees to spend up to 15% of their paid time on self-directed projects. And this rule was a total game changer. It allowed Dr. Silver to just keep advocating for his failed glue. Even more importantly, it allowed another 3M employee, Art Fry, to use that glue in 1974 to fix a personal annoyance. See, his bookmarks just kept falling out of his hymnal during church choir practice. So, Fry used company time to develop a sticky bookmark, and then suddenly, boom, that non-problem had a very real solution. Moving on to section 2, the science of sticking. Now, what's really interesting here is how they actually turned a choir bookmark into a reliable product. The secret behind the stickiness lies in something called acrylic copolymer microspheres. Rather than melting into a flat layer of glue, the adhesive is actually made up of microscopic, bouncy spheres. They form a sparse monolayer with limited contact points. And that unique geometric structure, that is the absolute magic that allows the paper to attach temporarily without leaving any gross residue behind. When we compare these two approaches, you really start to realize how completely backward this was to the scientific community back then. I mean, conventional adhesives prioritize high peel adhesion and full surface wetting. They want to grab onto something and never ever let go. But the Post-it? It completely inverted standard chemical priorities. By utilizing low peel adhesion and only partial contact points, it allowed for endless restickability. It wasn't broken, it was literally just designed to fail cleanly. And as the team was trying to work out the really complicated machinery needed to apply these microspheres to paper, well, they needed something to test it on. Which leads to this brilliant, kind of hilarious fact. Canary yellow, arguably the most iconic color in all of office supplies, was never some focus-grouped marketing choice. No way. It was literally just the color of the scrap paper they had available in the laboratory next door. They used it simply because it was there and, well, the branding stuck. Pun entirely intended. All right, section 3, creating a new market. So moving into the late 1970s, 3M finally had a working prototype, but they faced a massive hurdle. They had to teach the world how to use a product they didn't even know they needed. Back in 1977, 3M tried a standard test launch called Press and Peel, and it was a total commercial failure. Consumers just didn't get it. I mean, why would you want tape that doesn't stick permanently, right? So in 1978, 3M pivoted. They launched this brilliant campaign known as the Boise Blitz. They totally bypassed traditional advertising and just dumped massive amounts of free samples directly into offices in Boise, Idaho. It was pure experiential marketing. And the result? A staggering 90% of those businesses reordered the product. With the Boise Blitz revealed, was the Post-it's absolute greatest superpower. It acts as its own viral marketing tool. Think about it. Step 1, you write a note. Step 2, you stick it to a document and hand it off. Step 3, your colleague receives it, immediately wonders what on earth this amazing sticky paper is, and demands their own pad. It spread like wildfire. It created a completely new behavioral habit in the workplace, entirely relying on this self-advertising network effect. Let's look at Section 4, the 3M Empire. And this brilliantly illustrates how that viral loop generated a massive global business over the last 4 decades. Looking at the global revenue share, 3M's dominance is just absolute. While competitors like the Taiwanese manufacturer Hopax capture about 23% of the market, 3M holds a massive 77% of global sticky note revenue. And get this is a category projected to reach up to $4.2 billion by 2035. To supply that kind of incredible demand, 3M relies on what plant director Jason Orr calls a choreographed dance. Because, incredibly, every single Post-it note in the entire world is manufactured in just one place. Yep, a single zero-waste to landfill facility in Cynthiana, Kentucky. Now, on one hand, this highlights absolute manufacturing excellence and super strict quality control. But on the other hand, relying on a single facility, that creates a massive geopolitical concentration risk. If anything disrupts that one plant, the entire global supply chain just halts. So you might be wondering, how does 3M protect this empire now that those original patents from the 70s and 90s have expired? Well, they rely on some pretty aggressive trademark strategies. They fiercely protect the Post-it word mark, and they legally restrict competitors from using their specific canary yellow color. They've also had to fend off quite a few alternative inventorship claims. For example, there was an inventor named Alan Amron who claimed he actually invented the sticky note first, back in 1973. He even filed a $400 million lawsuit against 3M. But a federal judge dismissed the case in 2016, pointing back to a prior confidential settlement and 3M's undeniable chemical patents. Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds, surviving the digital age. So now, our little paper protagonist is facing a real existential threat, a direct clash between physical and digital workspaces. Physical notes are wonderfully tactile, they're immediate, and effectively temporary, but, they do create paper waste. Meanwhile, digital note apps like Miro and Notion offer searchable, permanent, and infinite supplies of notes with absolutely zero physical waste. And the impact of these digital alternatives is highly visible. Just look at the usage impact. Digital workspace apps have already reduced physical sticky note usage by about 20% in some developed regions. The crucial thing to take away here is that a 20% drop shows the digital threat is real, it's measurable, and it's accelerating, especially among younger digital native workers who just don't have that same nostalgia for office stationery. But 3M isn't taking this lying down. Their counter strategy is all about bridging the gap. They've launched the Post-it app, which uses computer vision to instantly digitize your physical boards straight into integrations for Microsoft Teams and Google Workspace. And to fight those environmental concerns we mentioned, they've recently launched 100% recycled super sticky notes using plant-based adhesives to appease eco-conscious consumers and hit those corporate sustainability mandates. Which really leaves us with this final, provocative thought to wrap up our explainer today. In a world of infinite digital memory, what will you choose to write on a temporary yellow square? The Post-it note has survived failed experiments, corporate apathy, and massive legal battles to reach its 50th birthday. Whether it can survive the transition to a purely digital world, well, that's the next great chapter in its story. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible billion-dollar accident. Until next time, keep learning.